بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد قال تبارك وتعالى بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون وقال تبارك وتعالى أيضا يا الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. Alhamdulillah. Last week we discussed the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, and we're talking from the perspective of his father Yaqub alayhi salam, and how he perceived the whole story, as well as the lessons that we can take from it. This is obviously the struggles that a parent goes through, watching their children go through many different trials and hardships, and at the same time how they deal with those hardships. Now in these stories, we talked about the characters not being, there's no bad guy or good guy in these stories. Actually, at the end of the story, every single person succeeds. Every single character succeeds. So they're put in a situation which is the highest of tests that people can go through, whether it was Yusuf alayhi salam, his father, his brothers, and every other character within that story as well too. And then how they went through trials and hardships, and through those trials and hardships, they were able to succeed at the end. Now this is ideal for every single one of us. But what we have to be careful about is not all of us take the opportunities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us to fall out of bad habits, to change our bad habits, to change our deeds into good deeds. But if we're paying attention and we're not in the state of ghafla, we're not in the state of negligence, then we actually can see these opportunities and jump at the first one that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us to actually succeed in life. So now the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salam went through a different set of trials and hardships that their father went through. And that's why while we're going through these characters, it's not that we're all going to be always in the state of we're going through the same hardships that Yaqub alayhi salam is going through. We're not always going to be put in the state that where Yusuf alayhi salam is going through. We're not going to be put in the state where we're going through the hardship that his brothers go through. But definitely in parts of our lives we'll go through one, and other parts we'll go through a different one. So that's why it's so important to go through all the characters and see what made them go where they went to go through, where they were tried and tested, and what helped them get out of that state as well too. Now the story of Yusuf alayhi salam's brothers, it starts with their mother and father. We talked about last time Yaqub alayhi salam was actually, he married two sisters, and from these two sisters he was able to get two children, as well as there were two servants that he had as well. Each child had a servant, and from these two servants he got some children as well too. So from his first wife he had 5 or 6 children, and then from the two servants he had a few children, and then from his other wife he had 2 children, which is Yusuf alayhi salam and Binyamin. Now at a very, you can see at a very young age, when Binyamin was born, his mother, which is the mother of Yusuf and Binyamin, she passed away. So now the 3 people there that are serving as the roles of the mother is the older sister of Yusuf alayhi salam's mom and the 2 servants. And if you look at the power and role over here, obviously the sister is the older sister. She's going to have most of the authority because the other 2 are servants of the 2 sisters, and the younger sister passed away, and she's the one that's going to have most of the authority in that house, amongst the women at least. Now when this happens, there was a little bit of, you can say, a little power struggle between the 2 sisters. For example, when the first sister, Yaqub alayhi salam, married her, he got like 5 children from her, but the second one, he didn't get any children until later on. She made dua, and then through her dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave her Yusuf alayhi salam and Binyamin. But even before she got Yusuf alayhi salam and Binyamin, she felt something that, I can't give a child to my husband. And she told her husband that, you can have relations with my servant so that you can have children. That's how we got children. But then the other sister also pushed forth her servant so that Yaqub alayhi salam can have children with her as well too. So there was a bit of competition there. And when the first sister died, you have to be very careful, because as parents, this is a very good lesson we can take, is how we treat our children and the type of competition that we instill amongst them where they compete with each other. This competition can be very friendly and help them and push them to achieve more, or this competition can become very where it's like more jealousy is developed out of it instead of bringing forth a challenge. And you can see that now that Binyamin and Yusuf alayhi salam's mother passed away, there's a group of children right now, which is 10 of them. They're sort of banded together and they view Yusuf alayhi salam and Binyamin as competition. And this is not a friendly competition. They see it more as them being in the way, them getting more love from their father, and it slowly develops over time into jealousy. Now this jealousy is still there, and it's there in the form of righteousness, where they think the father is the one that's making the mistake, not them. And that's why you can see, you can hear their words, and they say, قال قائل من or first of all before that لقد كان في يوسف وأخيه لقد كان في يوسف وإخوته آيات للسائلين إذ قالوا ليوسف أخوه أحب إلى أبينا منا ونحن عصبة إن أبانا لفي ضلال مبين وقتلوا يوسف أو اطرحوه أرضا يخل لكم وجه أبيكم وتكونوا من بعده قوما صالحين. One, they're saying our father has gone astray. We're over here a band of 10 and we're the one that's doing all the work. They're doing the hunting, they're doing all the work, and our father is showing all the love to Yusuf and his brother. Now our father is doing something wrong here. And then you can hear the twisted logic of how jealousy can play such a role in twisting the way a person's thinking. They said, اقتلوا يوسف أو اطرحوه أرضا يخل لكم وجه أبيكم. Kill Yusuf alayhi salam, or throw him in the land where that's it. Your father doesn't have to worry about him anymore. ثم تكونوا من بعده قوما صالحين. Then after that we can be righteous again. That you want to do a sin, and then after that sin it should lead you to the role of righteousness. That will never happen. It will never happen that someone makes an idea and they don't worry about the path that they're walking through. They're just worried about the end result and say, you know how they say, the ends justify the means? This end, what I'm going to get, it doesn't matter what, it justifies the path that I'm taking, even if it's a sinful path. So they're literally ready to do a sin to become righteous. And that's not how Islam works. Now, before we go into it anymore, like I said, the power struggle between the women folk in the house could have led to this. It doesn't mean that their moms were doing bad or saying things to do bad, but just little things kids can pick up when there's a struggle between the father and mother, when there's a struggle between families and in-laws, when kids pick up on these things. And because we said like there was a bit of a thing where competition between the two sisters, as they were both the wives of Yaqub alayhi salam, this could have led to where the kids saw themselves. The only mom alive right now is their mom. Yusuf alayhi salam and his Binyamin's mom has already passed away. And now the only ones in charge is their mom. And she stayed alive because even when Yusuf alayhi salam was already in Egypt and he became in charge of ministry, he says he brought both his parents up next to the throne. Well, his mom already died. That means his other mom. So she was alive the whole time. And at that point, you see that these kids picked up something where they differentiated between Yusuf alayhi salam and Binyamin and themselves. They didn't differentiate between the other moms because also some of the children came from the two servants. But they didn't differentiate themselves. They differentiated between the two sisters, where there was competition between. And that's why if there is these kinds of competition, even it's between the father and mother, sometimes kids play that role, right? They go to the mom, they ask something and the mom says no. So then they come and try to see, well, maybe I can get something from the dad. And then if the dad says yes, then it puts an argument between the mother and father because they say, why'd you do it? I told you no. Well, dad said yes. And vice versa sometimes. They'll ask the dad will say no, they'll go to the mom. And say, why'd you do it? Well, mom said yes. And now there's an argument between the parents. And the kids can sort of see that if the parents are not on the same page, they can try to use that path. The mother and father, when they're on the same page, this right away shows that the kids, there's not a place for them to play these games with the parents. But what happened in this case, that they felt that they could play these roles, that it went to such an extreme where it's not just a little thing of, oh man, my brother is so annoying. Oh man, I really don't want to hang out with my brother. It led to, let's kill our brother. Let's kill him. And by killing them, now this will lead to us being righteous kids. It's like the story that they said, where a person, he steals money to go give sadaqah. You can't steal money to give sadaqah. And the Quran said, Al-khabithun lil-khabithat. The bad is for the bad. وَالطَّيِّبُونَ لِلطَّيِّبَاتِ. And the good is for the good. Even the people of Quraysh who were polytheists, when they were rebuilding the Kaaba, they came up with this final conclusion to make sure that it stays pure. They said you can only use the money that you've gotten in a halal way. No stolen money, no gambled money, no any type of money that's brought up in a way that we know is not okay. Only from your business, only that you've given us a certain way. We bring that and we rebuild the Kaaba with that. And that's a rule in Islam too. Somebody cannot go become a millionaire in Vegas, come back and say, I want to build a masjid. I want to donate to a masjid. It doesn't work that way. If there is haram money, the only fatwa that's there is you can only use it to give it to a masjid to buy things like toilet paper, to fix things like that, not to actually expand the masjid or rebuild the masjid. So they realized that even within Islam, that before Islam in Quraysh, that we can only use the good for the good. But in this sense, when the kids, they're going through this stage where they don't see anything, they just see that our father, they've established a conclusion that our father has gone astray, and what's made him astray is Yusuf. If we get rid of Yusuf alayhi salam, then our father will actually go to his normal self, he won't be astray, and we can start becoming righteous as well too. Now, what's the mercy? The oldest amongst them who's supposed to be the most wise. Usually that's why with age and experience comes wisdom. His knowledgeable and wise words were, let's not kill Yusuf alayhi salam. It should be, hey, what are you talking about? Let's not kill Yusuf. Let's go talk to our dad. Let's go talk to our dad and tell him, we feel this way. We feel you're not showing us enough love. You're showing more love to Yusuf alayhi salam. Please spend time with us. We need that too. And the father will be like, Yaqub alayhi salam. Okay, I'm sorry you felt that way. Definitely. But instead, his wise words were, let's not kill Yusuf alayhi salam. Instead, let's get rid of him. Get rid of him, throw him in a well, and then some other group will come and take him. We don't have to worry about him in that way as well too. But let's not kill him. This is the wise words, which is still astray. Now, they finally came up and they went to, have to come up with an idea. And you can see these premeditated ideas where they go to the father. And the father already understands there's something going on. Because even before any of this happened, when Yusuf alayhi salam told the dream to his father, that I see the sun and the moon and the stars, 11 stars bowing to me, he right away said, don't tell this dream to your brothers. Because shaitan is a big enemy to you. Don't tell this dream to your brothers. So the father and mother, you can see with your own kids, you see sometimes the kids try to pull one over you, a fast one over you. I'm going to hang out with my friends, and they're probably going to do something else. I'm going to do this, and they're going to do something else. Parents can see this because they're much wiser, more wiser than the kids. But at a lot of times, the parents can't do much about it. So when they asked and they came up with this premeditated plan that let Yusuf alayhi salam go with us and we're going to go on a hunting trip, it's a chance for Yusuf to become a man, to sort of see how the world works. The father right away, he tried to find an excuse, not a direct excuse to say, I don't trust you guys. I know you don't like him. I know you're jealous of him. I don't trust you guys. But he tried to give them a way out without blaming them. And he said, I'm afraid that a wolf is going to get him. And they said, no. We're a big, strong group of people. There's no way we're going to let any harm come to Yusuf alayhi salam. And we talked about this before when we talked about Yaqub alayhi salam. Him being a prophet, he knows what's the end result. For example, he knew how to interpret that dream. And he knew what that dream meant. That's why he told them, don't tell this to your brothers. So he knows the ultimate goal is there's going to be Yusuf's going to be in power, and the rest of us, we're going to come to Yusuf alayhi salam while he's in power. How is that going to happen? He can only let destiny take its course. Yes. So we talked about that last week when Yaqub alayhi salam story, and they said, quit crying so much, you're going to hurt yourself. You're going to destroy yourself. And he said, إِنَّمَا أَشْكُ بَثِّي وَحُزْنِي إِلَى اللَّهِ وَأَعْلَمُ مِنَ اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. I am only complaining and showing my grief to Allah. And I know something from Allah that you do not know. So he knows Yusuf alayhi salam is safe somewhere. It's just he still wants his presence. He still wants to be with Yusuf alayhi salam. He wants to be with him. He wants to help him grow. He wants to give him advice. He wants to constantly be with him, because that's what every parent wants. It's like a parent when they send their kids off to get married, when they send their kids off to college. There's nothing bad happening, but they're going to miss their presence and they start crying. So he still does that, and he's complaining that he's showing his grief to Allah, saying that, oh Allah, out of your mercy, out of my love, because of how much Yusuf alayhi salam, please bring him back to me. And he's crying with that. But he knows there's still an end goal. Well, we're going to go back to Yusuf alayhi salam, but he doesn't know the method or the path of how that's going to work. So that's why he was crying. So when his brothers saw and they made this plan up, obviously there's a lot of adrenaline happening. You're doing something that you know is not correct. First of all, they're not just regular kids. They're the kids of a prophet. They know what's right and what's wrong. You know, we're hearing stories of the like hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. We're reading it as we read, like, oh subhanallah, I need to do this more. Oh subhanallah, I can't believe I did that. That's a sin. I need to change. And it affects us. But imagine if you're hearing that directly from a prophet. There's even more of an impact. And imagine if that prophet happens to be your parents. That's even more of an impact. And they're hearing that every single time. They're hearing that, and they heard the father give them exact warnings of what they should feel and what he's afraid of when they take Yusuf alayhi salam. And knowing that the father guessed exactly what they're trying to do. They have a lot of adrenaline. And when they took Yusuf alayhi salam, something continuously blinding them, they took him, and he's just a little kid at this point. Now the brothers range from like a little bit over 20 to like 16, 17. And Yusuf alayhi salam is around 8 to 10. You know, sometimes there's certain evils that you can't understand it. Like there was a story in UK where these two kids around 10 years old, they found this, they took this one kid, random kid, 5-year-old, and they're 10, and they took him away from the parents. They kidnapped him in a nice way, that the kids, a 5-year-old, thought they were just going to play with him. And they ended up killing him brutally. Something snapped in those kids' minds that they were able to do such a thing. That someone, like if you hurt someone is one thing, but you hear them crying. You hear them crying and crying, stop, begging, stop, and something still pushes you to do it. And that's what happened with these brothers as well too. They took Yusuf alayhi salam, he's trusted them, all of his trust is with them, and they take him. And eventually, even when they're picking them up, there's a little bit of fear, but you still think they're your brothers, and you throw them inside of a well. Now, even that, when they threw him inside of a well, they thought, okay, he might have died. But then he started speaking like, help, what are you guys doing to me, help. And it came to him that they were so blinded by rage, by jealousy, that one of them picked up a rock and said, I'm just going to throw it in the well to completely get rid of him. And one of them, the older one, stopped and said, no, we said we're not going to kill him. Just leave him in there. We're going to make sure he's taken away and he's left taken away from this land. So they didn't throw him. But he was calling out to them that he was making, in a very poetic way, Yusuf is still going to be a prophet soon. So he's an intelligent person. You see, when a prophet is chosen from a group, it's always the most intellectual, the most honest, the wisest, in every way, in every quality, they're the best. And Allah SWT chooses that person to be the prophet. So he started in a very poetic way, started calling out to them. How can you do this to me when I'm your youngest brother? When your younger brother? When you see a little kid, I want you to remember me. When you see someone crying, I want you to remember me. When you see this, I want you to remember me. And then finally, Jibreel alayhi salam came to Yusuf alayhi salam and said, stop, that's enough. Make dua. And then he started making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So his voice started to calm down, and then they left him as is. But they still have now to deal with their dad. And for kids, sometimes it's easier to deal with a principal and a police officer, easier than to deal with your dad. Like, okay, but just don't call my dad. A lot of kids will say that. But they have to directly deal with their father. And in that, they make mistakes. Like one of them was to just take his t-shirt and just douse it in blood of an animal that they killed, with leaving the t-shirt perfectly intact. But imagine that walk home. As they walk home and they're going to their parents, and how many times they have to promise each other, do not tell the truth. We have to stick together. The plan was already done. They could have, at any of that, until they saw their father, they could have said, you know what, forget this, this is the wrong idea. Let's go back, give back Yusuf alayhi salam, ask him to forgive us, we'll come back to our dad, and we'll just like pretend like this never happened. Anytime, that whole long trip back, they could have come up with that idea. But this is the difference. This is what happens, that when you're a group of people, you can either be a group of people that always help each other to do good, or you can be a group of people that pressure each other to do bad. And that's why company is so important. That Umar radiallahu anhu said, show me a person's company, I'll tell you who that person is. So, whatever was said from them, it wasn't like a long, quiet home. They're working with each other, trying to make sure that this plan completely goes the way they planned it. Now, being the father who he is, right away their plan failed, because as soon as they got home, the father saw right through the plan and said, how is an animal going to kill a child and not scratch his shirt one bit? بَلْ سَوَّلَتْ لَكُمْ أَنفُسُكُمْ أَمْرًا. No, but it's yourselves, أنفسكم. And this nafs comes over many times in the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. It's your nafs that made up this plan. فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ. I'm not going to do anything to you. I'm going to have beautiful patience. So he didn't lash out with them in anger. And he left them. Now, this could be something that's beneficial, or it could be something that's detrimental. But it's not our job to try to tell the difference. Our job as a parent, like we're Yaqub alayhi salam at this point, your child did something that's disobedient. Your child did something that you didn't like. Even if it's not a disobedience, maybe they spilled some water on the carpet, some juice on the carpet. That's not a sin. It's a mistake. It's negligence, but it's not a sin. And then, where is the sin? For example, your children didn't pray salat on time. That's a sin. Now, the way the parents deal with these things will have an effect on the child. And the way we're supposed to deal with it is, we have to think, how did the Prophet ﷺ deal with it? And in the beginning, you may feel like it's not giving you the results that you want. You know, I try to do what the Prophet ﷺ would do, it's not showing me the result. That's not our job. The results are in the hands of Allah. We talked about this last time. Nuh alayhi salam dealing with his own child for how many years? How many years he dealt with him? Till the last minute, he's like, Ya bunayya arkam ma'ana. Oh my child, please come on the boat. Last minute, and the wave came and took away the son. Even after he said, Ya Allah, he was still my family. Like, I know your promise is true, but he was still my family. And until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to him, no, he's not your family. He's amalun ghayru salih. His deeds are not righteous deeds. So yeah, he's your family in this life, but as soon as death comes, believers and disbelievers are separated on the Day of Judgment. Till the last minute, those, Ya bunay, oh my child. That's our job. Now with Yusuf alayhi salam's story, you'll see that eventually, we know the ending to it, that saying that Ya bunay, Ya bani, "Oh my children, oh my children, oh my children," brought an echo of righteousness in their mind that stayed in the back of their mind and slowly, slowly echoed till the situation came right in front of them. And they said, "Oh Yusuf alayhi salam, please forgive us." And they went to their father, "Oh father, please forgive us." And other times, like Nuh alayhi salam's story, it didn't work. But that's not our job to make it work. Our job is to continue following what the Quran and the Hadith say of how to be a parent. And that's what he did. فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ. I'm going to be patient. Now in the beginning, imagine they're like, you know what? We thought we were going to get in trouble. We got away with it. We didn't get in trouble. Yusuf is gone. And that's it. We can now go back to being righteous kids. But the father, they didn't get that love from the father that they thought they would once Yusuf alayhi salam went away. So it never left from their hearts that they should stop being jealous and start dealing with things in a different way. And now, they're living now with their parent, with Yaqub alayhi salam and their mother for a period of time that maybe it's an awkward silence, maybe it's something, but it's not the way they pictured it. They're still fulfilling their responsibilities, bringing food home, taking care of the parents, but that what they expected, that as soon as Yusuf alayhi salam is gone, now we're going to have our father all to ourselves. No, it's just the father crying. All they see is the sadness of the father. Crying every night with you for Yusuf alayhi salam. Crying every night to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it affects them. You know, it's one thing to deal with someone and you deal with them and they come at you and lash at you with anger, which builds an anger inside you that sort of matches it. But then when you're dealt with kindness and it melts your anger and you're just like, you feel bad and remorseful for it. And that's what Yaqub alayhi salam did with them. Now, it's time for them. In the story, it goes back to telling what happened to Yusuf alayhi salam as he grew up, but they're not witnessing that. Yusuf alayhi salam changed, he grew up, the whole story happened with now, he's the minister of treasure, the whole story of what happened with the wife of the Aziz, what happened with the people in jail, all this is happening in the background. This whole time, Yusuf's brothers, they're growing up and they're dealing with the father in that way. Now, finally, the story comes back. We're going back into the perspective of the brothers, and they're coming and they meet Yusuf alayhi salam again, not recognizing who he is. They're just fulfilling their responsibilities. We have a whole bunch of stuff. We want to make some money for our tribe. We're going to go to Egypt. We have a whole caravan. We'll do some trading here and there. Bring a profit back to our locality. And that's all in their minds. They don't know Yusuf alayhi salam is there. Now, while they're doing this, the minister of treasury looks at them and says, "Don't you guys have another brother? If you go bring that brother, you're going to develop a nice relationship with me. And if you bring him, I'll give you a nice trade, nice profit." And they're not thinking, again, when you're blinded by something, what you're supposed to see, you don't see it. All they're thinking right now is, you know what, the better that we do when we go back to our parents, maybe we can get that love back. Maybe we'll get that honor back. So I think it's worth it. If we can develop a close relationship with the Minister of Treasurer in Egypt, that's a profitable act for us. We'll get the best business. So they told him right away, we'll go talk to the father, we'll go bring him. And Yusuf alayhi salam, he wanted to make sure that they come back. So he told the servants that all the stuff that they took out of the caravan, put it back in their caravan. Let them all go home. That when they go back, they see they have only the same stuff that they came with, they have to come back. And it's not an easy trip. It's a good 5 to 6 month trip. They're not taking a plane. They're going by foot, by animal. And so finally they go and they come back. It's almost like another year they're coming back. But when they go back to the father, now you're at a point where, again, you say, what are we going to do? We just ask our father directly? They said, yeah, let's just ask him directly. I mean, The caravan, they were there with us. They saw what the treasurer, a minister of treasurer said. So they told the father, direct, oh dad, can you we didn't get to trade anything. We didn't get anything from the caravan. Actually, if you send Binyamin with us, we're going to go there and we'll be able to take care of him. And when we take care of him, we'll also come back with a lot of good deals with the trade. The father right said, هَلْ آمَنَكُمْ عَلَيْهِ إِلَّا كَمَا أَمِنْتُكُمْ عَلَى أَخِيهِ مِنْ قَبْلِ. Am I going to trust you with him the same way that I trusted you with his brother Yusuf? And then he said, no. I'm not going to trust you the same way. I'm going to trust in Allah. I'm going to trust in Allah. And still, as a father and as a prophet, one, to always let his sons, give them this opportunity to redeem themselves. Two, he's a prophet knowing that it's Allah that's going to take care of him and his children, not himself. A lot of prophets were put through these tests. For example, Ibrahim alayhi salam. When Ismail alayhi salam was born, what did he have to do? Leave him in the desert and go. Leave your wife and your child in the desert and leave. Rely on Allah. He comes back 8 to 10 years later. What's the first thing he's told as a commandment? Slaughter your child. Sacrifice your child. And in both cases, Ibrahim alayhi salam, because of his trust in Allah, knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never oppress him, he did exactly what he was told. And both of them led to the success of raising his child the way he was for him to be a prophet. And Yaqub alayhi salam also has that same trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that even though he's not falling in the same hole twice, he knows what's going to happen because he has revelation from Allah, and he knows what's going to happen to both his brothers, all of them. That's why he says, when they do the second time, that maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring all of them back to me. So he says, go, take the brothers, but my trust is in Allah, not in you guys at this point. And when they open up the caravan, they see it's filled with a lot of stuff. Right away, they tell the father, no, this is not what you think. We didn't trade anything. They thought the caravan was supposed to be empty. He said, no, this is just our old stuff. So then right away the dad, to remove all doubt, he said, he's still his children, they're still Muslims. They were still doing whatever they're doing. Even though they were lost, they wanted to be qawman salihin. So he said, promise in Allah right now. Bring me a promise in Allah right now that you're going to take care of your brother. They brought their promise out. That we swear by Allah, we're going to take care of our brother unless something out of our power happens. If it's something out of our control, we can't do anything about it. But as long as we have the power to do so, we're going to take care of our brother. And this is where he let them go. But even then, he advised them. It's always like, you don't understand how much of an echo a parent's voice is to their child every time they tell them to do something good. For example, a child, let's take two different examples. A child does a mistake or even a sin. One parent gets mad at their child. The child makes the same mistake again, they get madder. It keeps happening, they keep getting madder and madder, and it gets worse and worse every time. Maybe it's just a scream at the beginning, or just a loud tone, then it turns to a scream, then it turns to beating, then it turns to something else. It just feels like the father thinks or the mother thinks, I have to escalate it more and more so that they can understand, because if I go down, they're going to think I'm putting down what they did. I'm belittling what they did. And I don't want that. So it gets worse and worse. The consequences. The other parent, it's always something in a beautiful manner. They just want to be that voice. So they tell them in a good way. They tell them again in a good way. They tell them again in a good way. And they just are saying that they're going to keep doing it the same way, and they're going to be that echo in their mind, that their voice, that good tone, that good matter, it just echoes in their minds until they become wise enough to hear that. Then I'm ready to bring them and hug them back into the deen or into the family. The other way, there are some parents that have disowned their children. Get out of my house, you're no longer my child. Why? Because it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And at that point, you leave that child to the wolves of society. So, yes. Exactly. So what does Islam say? That's what we have to know. For example, what I was talking about at the beginning is, what does the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ say to deal with, let's say, a husband and a wife, how the wife should deal with the husband, how the parents should deal with the children. That, no matter how much we think it's not going to work, that's the best way to succeed. So one simple thing, simple sunnah. There was which Sahaba was it? I forget which one it was. I don't know if it's one of the Abdullahs. I think it was Abdullah bin Abbas. One of the Sahabas, as a children, he said, I was with the Prophet ﷺ for like 8 years serving him. And at times I would not do what he says. And he told me to do something and I would go, and while I'm in the middle of doing something, I lose track of it and I start playing with the kids. And that whole time while I was with the Prophet ﷺ, he never once told me, why did you do that? Or why didn't you do that? Now this seems like it's very hard in today's society to do. And it's not easy. We lose our temper. But a lot of times if we pay attention to it, when we're losing that temper, is usually sometime because of our own negligence. See, in order for us to do righteous things, we have to be righteous. So I'm on my phone. Maybe I'm playing a little game. Maybe I'm reading, going through some reels. Maybe I'm watching a story. Even if I'm listening to a lecture and doing something good. But now there's an interruption. Why? Because my children are messing around. So how do I deal with it? Do I go off on them? Not because they deserve for me to yell at them, but the fact that I feel annoyed that I have to stop what I'm doing and deal with them. So it's always like there's a part of blame on us that leads us to deal with them in the way that we deal with them. So we can't put it 100% on them. They do have a big play in it, but the way we deal with it could be on us as well too. It's always like, for example, one of the things is a lot of, whether it's the husband, the wife, maybe the children, everyone wants to just keep the phone, only they can see it. And it's not like, you're just like, I know this is not good, but I don't want my child to see this right now. The child will be like, what are you watching, Dad? It's nothing, just leave it alone, don't worry about it. And at the same time, the children will do the same thing. It's something funny, but they feel like if I show my dad or mom, they'll get mad. So they're like, what are you watching? It's nothing, just something joke, just some this. And same thing with the husband and wife sometimes. It's not that they're watching something bad, but I don't want them to know that I'm watching this guy who does some funny stuff, but also does some bad stuff. You understand? But those things lead to us losing our temper at times. Now let's say we got rid of the phone. Like for example, the way our grandparents dealt with us. There was little, probably because of societal pressures, they lost their temper, but not because they were busy and couldn't give us time. But nowadays, as we go more and more into the future as well too, we see less time given to the children. Not because the parents don't have time, but one, we've separated ourselves from them. 8 hours a day, we don't even see them because they're at school. When they're at home, they got homework. Can deal with them at that time. Oh, now they're watching their show. Well, they did good today. Let me let them play their game or watch their show. Oh, and I'm doing this as well too. And from the day, we get a fraction of time with them. Whereas our parents, which is their grandparents, give us much more time. And if we go a generation before, they even got more time. And if we go to a generation before, the kids at 8 years old, they're helping the parents with whatever they have to do, whether it be a farm, business, the kids are right there running, and they're spending much more time. That quality of time is getting less and less and less as we go more and more and more into the future. So it's not a thing that we say that hadith or what the Prophet ﷺ did will not work in today's society. We've just put ourselves in a structure where we believe that it won't work. But that's the way it works, because you can't say, you know what, because basically this is what we're doing. I'll tell you this, just the structure, the way it works. 8 hours a day when we're not with them, what are we saying? We're saying we're trusting our parenthood for someone else to raise them 8 hours a day. Because that's what it is. You look at when your kids are 5 years old, they're the most innocent at that time. When you tell them something, no, son, or this is when they were in kindergarten and first, second grade, you tell them, no, that's not how it works. This is the reality of it. They're like, no, Mrs. So-and-so said it's not like that. They say this. No, Mrs. So-and-so says you can't talk like that. And they say they're teachers. Why? Because that teacher is the parent for those 8 hours. The kids naturally absorb it. Even if they say that's a teacher, they're doing the job of the parent while they're the teacher. That's why we have teachers, because there's certain things that why we don't have time or we don't have the ability, we say someone else teach them, whether it be Quran or it be English or math. We're saying, I trust you to be a parent for this period of time. So basically we're saying 8 hours a day, I want this person to be the parent. And then whatever other hours that we give for society to raise them through TV, through video games, through social media, through hanging out with friends. Now they're learning certain morals and values from them. So let's say that's about 10, 11 hours a day. And let's say they even get 1 hour a day with the parents. And we're saying, no, you have to do this. Which one's going to have the most impact? You understand? So it's not to say that this won't work, but unless you understand that this is the way society is we've split up our time with our children through society this way, we're not going to be able to come up with a solution. Now, it's perfectly reasonable for someone to send their kids in public school, to let them have some entertainment, and still be a good, influential parent in their children's lives, as long as they understand the danger with each part. If they don't understand the dangers with each part and they just become naive that, they're going to school, they're just learning math and science, they're watching some TV, it's just some entertainment, okay, now I'm going to raise them for an hour as a parent. It's not going to work. One of the ways that I'll tell you that it will work is a parent has to be someone that any child, all their children, should be able to trust them to express what's in their minds 100%. They're not going to get a negative reaction. They're not going to get over dramatic reaction. They're going to be able to, like when the kid brings something up, the parent will actually address that thought and then try to answer that in the best of their ability. If they can't, they say, let's go find the answer, someone who has the answer. If there's a negative reaction, if there's a dramatic reaction, if there's something where even it's like, no, it's like, shut that thought down, then the kid, the next time, they're like, you know what? I don't want to bring my thought up to my parents. And they sit on it. And they live with that thought. And you don't know how long it's going to linger there. When are they going to have this ability to bring that thought out again? Maybe for most kids it happens around 16 or 18. But at that time, it comes up as an opposition, as opposed to becoming something that's a question of understanding. And when it comes as an opposition, they say, you can't tell me what to do, Dad. You can't tell me what to do, Mom. I hate this. I want to be like this. I hope when I leave, I don't want to like this. And this just creates a rift between the parents and the children, which happens to a lot of good kids. So that's why you have to be able to understand the difference in raising a society. Now, Yaqub alayhi salam understood this with his children because he understood the relationship between his two wives who were sisters. He understood that there's only so much he could do with his children. And he tried the best to try to keep them equally treated in a way that no negative feelings can come between them. But what's to be qadr is to be qadr. So he tried to deal with them the best way and kept advising them every step of the way, and at the same time letting them know where their mistake was. No. This is something your own desires made up. But he taught them, you have to be patient. Like this is telling them, listen, your own desires told you to be jealous. What you should have done is been patient. Let Yusuf alayhi salam grow. You would have seen what a good brother he would have been. So he's telling them their mistake and he's showing them the solution through action. And it was just a drop. And it kept being a drop. And then when they told him they want to take Binyamin, he gave him another drop. And he said, listen, it's not between me and you, it's between you and Allah. Promise me, make a promise with Allah that you're going to try your best. And they, okay, it's not between us, it's between us and Allah. We got to try our best. They're still qawman salihin. They want to be qawman salihin. Well, this is the way to do it. And then from his own practice, that listen, it's not that I don't trust you. I'm looking out for you guys. He said, oh my children. Before they went back with their brother Binyamin, he said, listen, I cannot remove, like whatever's qadr is going to happen. I'm only trying to advise you to try the best way to help any kind of harm coming to you. So when you go into the next city, don't all of you go from one door. Go through different doors. Why? Because one of the things, the quality of Yusuf alayhi salam, we talked about last time, is he was the most beautiful people that walked in this world. So, the two mothers, they're sisters. And the father is the same father, Yaqub alayhi salam. So all of them share this beauty. Although Yusuf alayhi salam came out the most handsome, all of them are very handsome. So in a way to protect them from evil eye, he said, I want you guys to go into the city from different doors. Don't go in as one big family. People are going to say, oh, look at these guys. Well-to-do off, strong family, all very beautiful. And evil eye starts to come at them. So, and maybe there were other reasons as well. From his wisdom, we don't know. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said he was blessed with wisdom that most people weren't. So, they went through different doors. And still Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, but obviously like what Yaqub alayhi salam said, it's not going to help them in any way if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't want it to help them, if it was in qadr. So now, they're with Yusuf alayhi salam. They're doing, again, they don't know what's going on, but they're just now, they brought the brother, hey, this is our younger brother, Yusuf alayhi salam, says, come here, I want to talk to you real quick. And he whispers to them, hey, I'm going to do something. Don't say anything. Your brothers are going to blame you for some stuff. They may even call you names. Don't say anything. I'm actually your older brother, Yusuf. And then he sent them back. And what they did is they had the people put some treasure in his brother's bag or what he had. And right away, after all the trading was done, they got very good deals on everything. That's what they promised them. So they're very happy. Right away, someone called, stop that caravan, someone stole something. Again, this thievery was not even in their minds. They're like, you know who we are. We're children of a prophet. Yaqub alayhi salam is known who he is in the land. That you know we didn't come in to do any kind of corruption or do anything like this. You know us. We've come here before. And they asked him, well, what did you lose first of all? They said, someone stole a treasure from the king and we want to see who stole it. And he said, we didn't do anything. I said, okay, well, what if we go through your stuff and we find it? What are we going to do then? They said, listen, whoever you find that treasure with, then you can blame that person. That person is the thief. So to make it like, again, Yusuf alayhi salam was blessed with wisdom. And to make it like it wasn't that they didn't plan it, he went through everybody else's stuff first, and then he went through his brother's stuff last. And they found the treasure there. Now, instead of creating a shock amongst the brothers, like, what? How? Like right away they should be like, no way. They should stand up for their brother. They should do everything they can to defend their brother. And they should be like, no, this is our youngest brother. First of all, it wouldn't even come to his mind to steal. We know who he is. He's not a thief. He's not a liar. We're going to stand here and defend his honor. Why? This is our brother. And we made a promise to Allah that we're going to defend him unless there's something that it's out of our hands. And we're right now, to defend his credibility and honor, we're going to let you know he's not a thief. They said, قَالُوا إِنْ يَسْرِقْ فَقَدْ سَرَقَ أَخٌ لَهُ مِنْ قَبْلِ. Still that jealousy of Yusuf alayhi salam is still in their hearts, that they said, oh, if he's a thief, Yusuf alayhi salam was probably a thief too. It hasn't gone away from their hearts. They didn't get what they want from their father. They just saw their father going through hard times, and still it was there. The remorse and regret was there, but not enough that he could take it away, that they could still accuse Yusuf alayhi salam from being a thief, even though not once did they see him stealing anything. So Yusuf alayhi salam, at this point, he could have done something. We'll talk about that later. But he kept it to himself. And now they still tried, and they said, instead of saying he's not a thief, they said just out of sorrow to get them the treasure of ministry to feel sorry for him. They said, listen, okay, he's a thief, we get it. But he has a very old father. And if he goes, the father really loves this child, he already lost his other child, please take one of us in his stead. We know he's a thief, let him go, but take one of us in his stead. And Yusuf alayhi salam said, no, I mean, he was a thief. There's no way we could take someone else in his place who's innocent. If he's the thief, we got to take him. Right away they said at this point, he's not the thief. But they didn't say that. They said, you know what? He's got a point. And they left him. And now the older brother said at this point, he feels something is obviously amiss, something is not right, and there's no way that now he can go back to his father, losing both of the brothers from the mother who had already passed away. And he said at this point, I'm not going to go back home. I'm going to stay here, and whatever happens to me, happens to me. Either Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will prove our innocence, or our father will start believing us that we didn't do anything wrong. You guys go back to your father, let him know what his son did, Binyamin. And at the same time, if, like, I'm going to give you some wisdom, if your father doesn't believe you, because there's a high chance he won't, then what I want you guys to do is go tell your father, ask the caravan. The whole caravan was there. They can see that it was your son that stole. We couldn't do anything. We didn't know what he was doing on the side. He snuck away. He did something. We couldn't keep an eye on him 24 hours in the day. So we don't know what he did when he wasn't with us. And that's ultimately what they did. And they went back and they thought, okay, now this is a chance. We have all these witnesses. We're going to go. At least now our father will believe us. But again, the father gave them the same exact response. قَالَ بَلْ سَوَّلَتْ لَكُمْ أَنفُسُكُمْ أَمْرًا. No, your desires made some kind of plan for this to happen. And at this point, they could say that, no, we're playing, we're telling the truth this time, and you can ask everybody else. But the father at this point is letting them know, teaching them another lesson. You can cry wolf and lie once, twice. If the third time you're telling the truth, people may stand out and believe you. And this is what a lot of children, they should be taught at a very young age. That, some children, they'll be like, hey, can I go do this? Hey, can I go hang out with my friends? And a lot of times some parents will be like, when they get older, no. And the child will think like, what? I'm not doing anything wrong. But the thing is, how many times did you lie? How many times were you immature with your parents? That they think you're not mature enough or not truthful enough for them to believe you. And because of that, they think that whenever I'm telling the truth, you should believe me, but completely dismiss the 100 times that they lied. And at this point, the kids knew that. They knew that, okay, well, our father, technically, he's telling the truth. We did lie many times over, and now why should our father believe us this time? So even when the father started crying, he right away went again, started crying over Yusuf alayhi salam. And this is where the kids said to him, Dad, you're just thinking about Yusuf alayhi salam so much, you're going to destroy yourself. And this is where the father said, I'm only showing my grief and sorrow to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I know from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that which you don't know. And then he gave him another advice. Don't lose hope in the mercy of Allah. The only people that lose hope in the mercy of Allah are those people who disbelieve, or those people who are ungrateful. Kafirin or kafirun can have two different meanings: disbelieving and being ungrateful. Both of them is sort of the same meaning, because if someone disbelieves in Allah, they're being ungrateful for everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them, from existence to all the blessings under that. And when someone's ungrateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're not believing in all the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them. They don't see it. They're blind to the blessings. So in both cases, one, them being ungrateful for everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them in their strength and beauty, in the family, being the son of a prophet, they're being completely ungrateful for all the plans that they made up against Yusuf alayhi salam. And even when they discredited his brother Binyamin and discredited Yusuf alayhi salam's honor by calling him a thief. He still told them that and gave them that advice. And then now there was a famine that happened to them, and they still had this responsibility to take care of their family and their tribe. So they went again without any kind of trade, but with the idea that maybe we can get some sadaqah from the Minister of Treasure. And at this point, Yusuf alayhi salam had risen in rank as well too, and he's Al-Aziz at this point. he was asked, can you give us sadaqah? We've had a famine hit our village. We need some food. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward those with sadaqah. Now, this is where Yusuf alayhi salam had to make a choice. This is the lowest of the low. Now, it's not like a business trade where there's an equal thing. Hey, we're going to give you this, you're going to give us that. They're at the lowest point. They have nothing to give and they're only begging for something. And Yusuf alayhi salam could have said, okay, I'm in power now. Now let me show them revenge. And we'll get that when we talk about Yusuf alayhi salam's perspective. But from the brother's perspective, they're at the lowest of the low. And they hear this person say, after they ask for sadaqah, do you remember what you used to do to Yusuf and his brother when you were young? Right away they're looking at Yusuf alayhi salam and they're saying, are you Yusuf? He said, Ana Yusuf wa hada akhi qad manna Allahu alayya. And he gave him this advice, إِنَّهُ مَنْ يَتَّقِي وَيَصْبِرْ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُضِيعُ أَجْرَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Whoever has taqwa and remains patient, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never waste the deeds and the reward of those people who are doing good. This hit them hard because the father, from the beginning when they lost Yusuf alayhi salam, he said, Sabrun Jameel. Sabr. You need to be patient. Taqwa, them understanding what taqwa is. Obviously, they didn't speak Arabic at that time. And the word that's used where they can understand taqwa, whoever is conscious of Allah and is patient. Now, from the beginning, right away, it's like, you see your life flashing before your eyes. Taqwa. Was getting rid of Yusuf alayhi salam an act of taqwa? It was a mistake. Was not standing up for Binyamin an act of taqwa? Was them thinking that, dealing with their father in this way an act of taqwa? So they could think there was no taqwa in all of our actions. We were not doing it for the sake of Allah. We were doing it just like the father said, بَلْ سَوَّدَتْ لَكُمْ أَنفُسُكُمْ أَمْرًا بَلْ سَوَّدَتْ لَكُمْ أَنفُسُكُمْ أَمْرًا. No, it's your desires making plans against you. They're making all these plans because of what you want, not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. And right away it hit them. And the father, that echo, that little drop of echoes that he kept putting in their life for so many years. And finally the reality hitting them in front of them where they lost everything, they have nothing. And then this person in charge is the one that they've been oppressing. And then right away it said to them that obviously the last thing that Yusuf alayhi salam told them, that doing good, you'll get the reward of doing good. And since everything that they've done over here that dealt with Yusuf and Binyamin, there was no good intention behind it. It was not a good deed. So why are you expecting good? Where's the reward for doing good? And when it hit them, they said, قَالُوا لَقَدْ آثَرَكَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen you over us. They realized their mistake. And Yusuf alayhi salam, to even show more of that patience, he said, لَا تَثْرِيبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الْيَوْمِ. There's no blame. And this led to obviously them being even more remorseful. And Yusuf alayhi salam didn't use it in a way to get him back. He said, listen, I'm going to give you guys, he said, take my shirt, go back to our father, throw it on his eyes, and his eyesight will come back. Then I want all of you as a family to come back to me. Imagine the relief that Yusuf alayhi salam is still alive. It sort of negates, even though it doesn't negate what they did, he's still alive. Okay, we didn't kill him. He wasn't killed because of us. And then on top of that, he shows them what true brotherhood is by saying, I'm not going to blame you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive all of you. And then you're going through hardship, come back. Now you're going to live like kings. And imagine the joy they got from that. So now they're going back to their father, and there were still some children there, that not all of them went. But when the father says, I smell the smell of Yusuf, the other brothers are like, you're still astray. Like, why are you thinking of Yusuf? Like, so many years have passed, he's probably gone. But as soon as the person comes and throws Yusuf alayhi salam's shirt on the father's eye, he gets his eyesight back, And then he said, didn't I tell you I know from Allah what you don't know? And then that's where the kids, all of them said, please, Father, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us. And the father, to show how much love he had for all of his children, they realized how much love he had for him at this time. He said, I will soon ask Allah to forgive you. Not, I'm still angry with you, let me take the little time over this, maybe later I'll ask Allah to forgive you. His intent was, I'm going to wait till the later part of the night, which is the best time to ask for forgiveness, and I'm going to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at that time to forgive you. And they realized that our Father has loved us this whole time. Our jealousy was the thing that stopped us and blocked us from understanding this love. And the final thing that we see is after they all come with the family, all of them come back to Yusuf alayhi salam, and at this point he raises all of them up to where the throne is and the parents are there. All of them fall into sajda for him. And then he says, this is my dream, my dad. And again, we talked about one of the things that we said was there was a little bit of struggle with the mother and the stepmom of Yusuf alayhi salam. And Yusuf alayhi salam's mother had already passed away right when Binyamin was born. So the only mother, when he says Rafa Abawayhi ala al-arsh, is the two parents, which is his stepmom and his father, Yaqub alayhi salam. And at this point, he could have put some blame on him. He's an old, like an adult, right? A young adult. He could at this point say, hey mom, you're not even my real mom, and you were the one that caused all of this, or you didn't help in any of this. You should have controlled your children better. Nothing. Raised them up like she was his mom. And they all fell into sajda, and he said to them after that, this is the dream that my father had come to me, and then brought you back, my whole family back to me, after shaitan made a problem between me and my brothers. Not after my brothers did something to me. He even blamed the mistakes, not on his brothers, but on shaitan. And then at this point, you can see and imagine the relief of the brothers when they're hearing this from Yusuf alayhi salam. The sorrow, how many times they cried afterwards to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive them. And from all of them, these 12 children came Bani Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel. That all of them were that righteous, that each one of them were given a tribe that continued, which is Bani Israel means the children of Yaqub alayhi salam, the 12 tribes of Yaqub alayhi salam. So all of them became righteous because of the way, one, the father dealt with the children, two, the way Yusuf alayhi salam dealt with the children. So one thing, a few lessons we're going to take from it, then we'll end it inshallah. One, jealousy will destroy. It doesn't matter who you are. Even if you're the children of a prophet, if there's jealousy in the heart, it'll destroy everything you have, including the good deeds, including your faith. Now in this case, we see a story that went to an extreme and came back. Everyone was safe and saved in the story. But not all the time does that happen. Sometimes the jealousy isn't even as strong as the jealousy of Yusuf alayhi salam's brothers. But it's still enough to destroy their deen. Second, any sin, as long as you're alive, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept the repentance for it. It's never too late. The only time it's too late is, the Prophet ﷺ says, either the sun rises from the west because it's the day of judgment, the beginning, or as long as ma lam yugharghar. Yugharghar is the last sound that a body makes when the soul is coming out of the body. And it's like the gharghar sound. That's when a person, right before they die, they'll make that sound. Means the soul just completely now came out the body. And as long as the soul is there, even if when it's coming out, you can still make tawbah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept. So this is one of the things that we take lightly. Asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us, generally, just astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. Just generally, that's a blessing in itself. But to actually sit there and say, Ya Allah, I did this today. Ya Allah, I did that today. Ya Allah, I did this today. Please forgive me. Now that takes a little bit more consciousness. Why? Because you bring consciousness to your mistakes that you're more likely to not repeat in the future. Where if you're just saying astaghfirullah, 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 you get the reward of making istighfar. You may even get a little bit of an impact of making istighfar, but you're not really bringing a conscious level to the mistakes that you're making, and there might not be any effort to change those efforts. So you walk a different path so you don't make the same mistakes. So from their story, these are the two main things that we can get, aside from also the parents being very careful to how they treat their children, the siblings, not just the individual child, but the siblings, to work with them in a way that there's no jealousy, that they don't become a means of creating jealousy between siblings. That's what the parents have to worry about. At the same time, dealing with them in a way that is according to the Quran and Sunnah. And being aware of the dangers of society that they currently live in. What is the danger? Now, if you come to live in America, you have to have different dangers than, let's say, you're living in a Muslim country. Let's say in Syria, let's say in Afghanistan, let's say in Pakistan, or different areas. Those places will have different dangers. You, as being an intellectual parent, has to understand what the dangers in the specific society that you live in are. And accordingly, you deal with it. But not the whole time. You stay within the boundaries in character within the Quran, which is what's in the Quran and Sunnah. You don't establish, break that. And you work with those boundaries to deal with the dangers in society, to treat your kids that way. It's not easy. But was it easy to become an engineer? Was it easy to become a doctor? Was it easy to succeed in this world and become a very successful businessman? We were able to achieve that. But we didn't just sit back and let the degree just come from the sky. We spent nights, sleepless nights, studying for exams, making difficult choices, sacrificing time, sacrificing fun to create a good business, to get a good degree, to get a good job. And at the end, we succeeded. So why would we think parenthood, practicing Islam, which are far more valuable than any one of those things, would be any easier? So you have to think. You can't just live as a parent or live as a sibling or live as a husband or wife just like in ghafla and just expect everything to just work itself out. But in the dunya, no, you have to put effort and make sure everything works out the way you want. That's the only thing we have to worry about, is the formula that we apply to succeed in the dunya. Just take that same formula and use it to succeed in the deen, in parenthood, in anything that has to do with the deen, in being a servant to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So with that said, inshallah, I was going to go over both of them with Yusuf alayhi salam's brother and Zulaikha. They're different tests, different trials. Zulaikha being the Imra'atul Aziz that Yusuf alayhi salam also had to deal with as well too, of what her perspective is in this whole story. Different lessons, different tests, different trials, but I didn't get enough time, so inshallah we'll go with that one. Next time we have a final lecture, we'll go from the perspective of Zulaikha and learn the tests and trials and the way she dealt with it, the lessons of if we deal with those tests, how we can succeed with those, inshallah. So if there's no questions answered, we'll stop right now and end for Salat al-Isha. Jazakallahukhairan. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Jazakallahukhairan. If we can put the chairs back on the wall so that we can have space for prayer, inshallah. Jazakallahukhairan.